Sure. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm the academic, I think, on the panel, the person from the university. And I will just speak to one particular sector, the health sector, which is my area as well. And what's happening with the digital transformation and what we're expecting. And I think the health sector, it's interesting not only because I work on it, but also because during the pandemic, I think it's the sector that was most hit in terms of what was demanded from it. I think it's also a sector that we will continue demand a lot from, because the pandemic is not really over and a lot of other challenges in the health area are coming upon us. It's also interesting because traditionally the health sector was reluctant, has been reluctant to adopt digitalization, new technologies. It's been a very conservative in that respect sector. And the third reason is that during the pandemic, we did see really leaps in that particular sector as well. I mean, just to give you an example, any of you that ever wanted to travel internationally and had to document the vaccine would do it on the little yellow booklet. And today everybody has it in their pocket, in their phone. I mean, that is a major change for the health sector. So it's an interesting sector in several ways. But what's interesting also is we can learn maybe and make some observations for what's coming in this area. And I have 3 observations that I think are relevant for other sectors as well. The first one is that we were very fast in terms of technology, and I agree with what you said. Technology was not the barrier. It was what came fairly quickly, and solutions were put forward, and we saw also a lot of collaboration. We also saw something really interesting. Those of you in the space know that we, for so many years, have been talking about the problem of interoperability, something that we can't get over. Well, interestingly enough, in Europe, in the summer of 2020, we had the interoperability gateway for the apps that carry our vaccine certificates and documentation. That happened within a few months, technologically, so it is possible to overcome those obstacles. But the second point that I think is interesting for a lesson is where we seem to be slower and a little bit more in a struggle was the governance of the digital in the health sector. We struggled often, and I know you mentioned that there was regulatory reforms here and everywhere, but we still had questions about which data we can use, what to do with them, and that was at a time where it was easy to use to be in a crisis. We were in a crisis mode, so it was easy to use the clauses in regulation that allow us to do more things that we do in times of peace. So I think the lesson from the pandemic is that we have to invest more in governance of the digital if we want the digital to be smoother and actually to take off. And the third and my last point is that I think that one of the issues we didn't do during the pandemic while we were digitalizing and transforming was to deliberate with the publics and to engage them. Governments had to offer solutions, we had to offer things, and it was time for action, not time for talk. But we know that technology adoption requires public deliberation, requires engagement with the public. You mentioned legacy systems, cultures that need to change. I think the only way to move that forward is if we are able to deliberate with our publics, to understand also their concerns, their needs, unintended consequences of digital transformation that bother people and often create resistance. So that's something we did very little during the pandemic, I think, but it's something that we have the opportunity to learn from and do more. So for me, my 3 things for the pipeline is that technology is fast and we can keep the pace. I think that's an easy one. Governance is complex and needs much more investment than what we have done so far. And the third, and quite critical but crucial, is that we need more public deliberation, more engagement with society in order for this transformation to become the right digital transformation for the people in our societies. Thank you.
Thank you.